So in an earlier session, I talked about how being able to communicate clearly is important, and that was in fiction writing. But the same applies here in non-fiction. Think about how you might do this in this part of your examination, which remember is known as Part B or Section B, as I said before. Now, one of the most important things you can do is consider how to use effective paragraphs. And remember that these are used to do different things. They can help organise groups of ideas in writing. They can indicate a change of focus. They can show that someone new is going to be speaking, or to indicate a change of time. Now, I said this before, but with non-fiction, you need to consider your audience more carefully, and you are likely to be given one in a task, such as young people, students, your head teacher, a newspaper editor, or newspaper readers. Now, there are different things you can do depending on the task, so let's look at some examples. In the first task, write a speech for your year group which persuades them to stay on in the sixth form after year 11. So an example might be of an opening. Good afternoon, year 11. Picture this. Your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. It's pouring with rain. School is just around the corner, a 5-minute walk away at most. But wait, you're at college now, a 40-minute train ride, and the station is a 20-minute walk. So you crawl out of your warm bed and realise that you should have listened to your mum for once. Now notice here that I'm addressing the audience, as a speech should. In another task, this time a letter, the audience is still being addressed, but this time it's one person, not a whole year group. So write a letter for your local newspaper giving your views about the congestion in your town. Dear editor, Bramble Lane is shocking. It's congested, it's dirty, it's clogged up, and so are my lungs. Why, you may ask? Well, you only have to look at the bottlenecks and ridiculous amounts of traffic to realise why. Now you can see with this example that the form is different. It's a letter, not a speech, but notice how it addresses the audience directly. In this case, it's the newspaper editor. And there are different ways of communicating effectively with your audience, so let's see what else we can do. You will know by now that it's really important to plan out your ideas for fiction and non-fiction writing, and for non-fiction in particular to be aware of form, language, audience and purpose. However, even though what you write or the communication is really important and impacts on your reader, other aspects are also crucial, such as your spelling and your punctuation accuracy. So let's look at one of the tasks I mentioned to you earlier. Write a speech for your year group which persuades them to stay on in the sixth form after year 11. You might start with something like this. Good afternoon, year 11. Picture this. Your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. It's pouring with rain. School is just around the corner, a 5-minute walk at most, but wait, you're at college now, a 40-minute train ride. And the station is a 20-minute walk, so you crawl out of your warm bed and realise you should have listened to your mum for once. Now, hopefully, as you've listened to that, you've realised that there are some issues with this piece. Mainly that it isn't punctuated accurately, and this affects the way it sounds to the audience. I need to sort this out. I need to include commas, perhaps full stops, maybe semicolons, to make my writing more effective. You will see before and after suggestions on the downloadable worksheet, and that should help you. Now, let's consider a piece that is better with punctuation, but perhaps is less strong with spelling, tenses, and what about capital letters? This is a task I introduced you to earlier on. Write a letter for your local newspaper giving your views about the congestion in your town. Bramble Lane is shocking. It's congested. It was dirty. It's clogged up, and so are my lungs. Why, you may ask? Well, you only have to look at the bottlenecks and ridiculous amounts of traffic to realise why. So, this piece is quite well punctuated with commas and full stops, but look at the errors. Now I'm going to pause briefly and get you to write down the mistakes in this piece. So, Bramble Lane needs to start with capital letters. It is a proper noun after all. Spellings. Shocking, congested, ridiculous, traffic. Are and our. I'm muddling the correct word to use in the right context. And look at my tenses. I'm writing in the present tense, but then I write it was dirty. So this is confusing for the reader or the audience. And you is just lazy, so don't be lazy. Now you've thought quite a lot about accuracy, both in fiction and non-fiction writing. Let's do a quick poll then to check your understanding of certain types of punctuation and spelling. You will see the questions on the screen with answers after very short pauses. In this sentence, does it use the comma correctly? The road is so busy, something needs to be done. Well, it's not really accurate. A semicolon would be better to establish a longer pause between those two parts of the sentence. Number 2, capital letters are only used for names of people or places. Is that true or false? Well, it's false because they should be used for new sentences, new paragraphs, and brand or company names too. What about number 3? The family's house is there. They're always on their holidays. Correct or not? Well, it's incorrect. Look at the correct spelling of each of those words in the right context. Number 4, do I need an apostrophe here? The man's house is big, but his dogs love it. I do need an apostrophe in man's, but I don't need one in dogs because it's just a plural of dog. And what about number 5? What is wrong here? The cat, whose name was Sammy, ate a lot of food. He also liked drinking milk. Well, the mistake here is spelling of whose, the comma after Sammy, and there doesn't need to be a comma after liked. Okay, so hopefully this has helped you to think about how to be as accurate as you can be in your non-fiction writing. Now you can get more practice by reading different non-fiction texts, newspapers, magazines, leaflets, brochures, pamphlets, but also signs that are around you. Check the logic behind certain types of punctuation. So apostrophes are used to show that something belongs to someone, such as Mark's bag, or that letters are being missed out. Shouldn't, should not. Test yourself with certain spellings. If it doesn't look right, you may well be right. Now the next session will look at SPAG, spelling, punctuation and grammar. And remember, SPAG is an English teacher's favourite acronym, or one of them. So if you need more support, I will see you very soon.